What's the point of learning statistics? A lot of students have told me that they think statistics are boring, they are just so many numbers, and they are frightening. So you may wonder, why is my evil lecturer forcing me to learn statistics? In a talk by Professor Alan Smith, he demonstrates how little we know about ourselves and the people around us, and how statistics are there to help us understand ourselves better as a group. After watching his talk, I also wanted to try and see how we all know about our local community, University of Freiburg. So I prepared 6 short questions to see how basic statistics can hopefully help us understand our university a little better. Let's start with an easy one. Out of 100 students, how many of them do you think are female? Ready for your answer? The answer is 53. About a little over half the students in our university are female. Let's try another one. Out of 100 professors, how many of them are female? If half the students are female, what about professors? Are they also equal in number in terms of sex? Ready for an answer? It turns out that only 26% of professors are female. Did you get it right? It seems like women are really underrepresented among professors in your university. Now I wonder how it's like in other universities in Germany. So I did a little research and found out that the average percentage of women working as professors in Germany is 22%. So University of Freiburg seems to be slightly more women-friendly than other universities in Germany. What was also interesting but disappointing as a woman was that in our university, the higher you go, the less women you will see around you. For undergraduate students and even PhD or doctoral students, around 50% are female. However, after completing their doctoral degree, the number of female academics drops down to 30% and even to 26% for those who receive a professorship. The good news is that in our institute, we have 50% of female and 50% of male professors. Let's move to the next. Out of 100 students, how many of them do you think come from outside of Germany? Are you ready for your answer? About 1 in every 5th students come from outside of Germany. Do you know where are they from? I could not find statistics of our university, but found statistics of all universities in Germany. It turns out that the biggest contributing country of foreign students to Germany is China. About 13% of foreign students come from China, followed by India and Austria. Did you know that? Let's move to the next. Out of 100 professors, how many of them come from outside of Germany? Have you ever had a foreign professor in your study? If so, how often have you seen them? Let's see whether your perception is accurate. Are you ready for your answer? It turns out that only 11% of professors are non-German citizens. It seems like professors are a lot less international than students are in our university. Let's move to the next. Out of 100 employees at the university, how many of them are researcher or academic staff? There are a lot of people working in our university. People who do administrative work, people who work in a library and a cafeteria, student assistants who help researchers conduct a study, and full-time researchers as well, professors. How many of them do you think are academic staffs who teach and do research like I do? Take a guess and see if you get it right. Are you ready for your answer? The answer is 28%. One in every third employees in our university do research. Let's move to the last one. Out of 100 employees at the university, how many of them are student assistants or HIVIs? If 28% are researchers, how many student assistants are there to help them conduct their research? Are there more assistants than researchers themselves, or less? What do you think? Are you ready for your answer? It turns out that 35% of employees are students who help us conduct research in our university. That means every researcher in our university has at least one student assistant who helps him or her in conducting the study. This, I must say, is a luxury for both students and researchers. Students have plenty of opportunities to learn from what is beyond what is written in the textbooks. And researchers have great human resources to support them create new knowledge and write new textbooks. Not every country I know, such as Canada or Japan, has such an advantage. These statistics also shows that student assistants are a major workforce of research. Without student assistants, none of the scientific discovery will be possible. So that was it for a little quiz about our local community. How well did you know about University of Freiburg? Did the quiz help you know something new about our university? Hopefully you are convinced that statistics are about us, and statistics can help us understand ourselves better. And that is why it is interesting and important to learn statistics. Now, I want to demonstrate how statistical knowledge can also help you be better at work in your future. Imagine that you finish your degree in Masters of Educational Science and start working in a company where you design, implement, and evaluate an educational program in different educational contexts. Imagine you have two colleagues, John and Thomas. John did not study much about statistics. Thomas, on the other hand, has a great statistical knowledge. Let's compare and see how John and Thomas try to convince a potential customer, an IT company, to purchase and implement their e-learning program John and Thomas developed in order to improve employees' working performance. John said, you should implement our program because so many participants in your e-learning program said they liked it. They said they became more productive and more efficient at work. One person said, it was such a life-changing experience. I learned so much and I became so much better at work, and I even got promoted after a few years. What do you think of John's argument? Do you like his argument? Do you think his argument is convincing for the potential customer? Now, let's see how Thomas forms his argument. Thomas said, you should implement our program because workers who participated in this e-learning program took on average 20 minutes less time to complete the same tasks as those who did not participate in the program. We followed those workers 3 years later and found that the annual income of the former group was 6,000 euro higher than the latter group. Now let's discuss. What was different about the information provided by those two colleagues? Perhaps you have already realized that you saw some numbers in Thomas's argument, but you didn't in John's. As you have guessed, John formed his argument without using statistics, whereas Thomas provided his argument with statistical data. That was the difference between them. Now let's have a closer look at John's argument. First of all, he said, so many participants said they liked it. But how many so many? Is it 80% or 60%? The statistical information is missing here, and without it, it is hard to judge how much participants liked the program. Then John said, participants said they became more productive and more efficient at work. This information is important. But unfortunately, again, he does not provide statistical information on how much more productive and efficient participants became. In addition, his information is based on what participants said instead of how participants actually performed. This makes his argument subjective and less reliable. Then he continues saying that one person said it was such a life-changing experience. Well, he may make a great case study out of this particular participant, but I do not think a company will invest their money in seeing just one worker's life-changing experience. So overall, John's argument is not very convincing, I must say. Now let's have a closer look at Thomas's statistical argument. First of all, he explains how he compared workers who participated in an e-learning program with those who did not participate. In statistics or research methods, it is not sufficient to only talk about the people who received a treatment or intervention. To make sure that you find an effect of your intervention, you need to have a so-called control group. People who are similar to the intervention group in every aspect, such as gender, age, and maybe the experience level, but who did not go through the intervention. This control group serves as a baseline for workers' performance. In Thomas's e-learning program, it turns out that after participating in the program, workers took on average 20 minutes less time to complete the same tasks as the control group. This sounds like a statistically significant difference which I am sure Thomas had tested on. Here, instead of just saying workers became more efficient, he gives statistical information on how much more workers became efficient at work by estimating the group differences in time. This piece of information makes his argument objective and reliable. He then conducted a so-called follow-up study 3 years later, which is even better and show that his intervention group had on average 6,000 euro higher annual income than the control group. Again, instead of saying that workers became more productive, he provides statistical information on how much more his participants became productive by estimating the group differences in the amount of money they earned. This piece of information makes the argument strong and credible. So good job, Thomas. Which program did you trust more, John or Thomas? And who do you trust more, John or Thomas? I would say Thomas is the winner here. He did better in convincing a company to implement his program because he provided statistical information to show the company precisely how much more efficient and more productive workers are expected to become after participating in his program. I want to summarize by saying that statistics are not just about numbers and graphs, but they are a way of thinking and proving something. Having statistical knowledge gives you a better rationality, credibility, and opportunity in your future. By now, I hope you are convinced about the power of a statistical argument and how it could help you become more successful in your future career as an educational specialist. Do you have any questions? If you do, write me an email. Thank you for listening. Goodbye.